Welcome.
Yeah, hello. Nice to meet you. And yeah, you asked about how is everything. Everything is great. We are here in Dubai, pretty hot, but we are do coding, so we are safe from the hot weather. We are doing coding recently. How are you?
All right. I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. For those that come from the fringe community, would you like to introduce your role, or would you like to introduce what Gton is, and then we'll introduce fringe for everyone that's coming from your community, from the Gton community.
Yeah, of course, I can do it. So the Gton is a DAO. So basically a DAO which is building DeFi infrastructure and products. And the special purpose of the DAO is basically the build the system where we have two different approaches of monetization of the DAO. First approach is generating revenue by the bonding from one side. This is direct access to the DAO member, and another revenue stream is our own proactive market making exchange, and two instruments, two tools which are boosting liquidity on this exchange. So this is basically one thing. We have product side for users exchange and staking solution. We have synthetic assets tokenization algorithm, and also we are DAO with the governance token which has staking, with bonding as an approach for onboarding people into the DAO. And one of the innovation we are doing right now is the protocol for managing of the liquidity. And it's not only about managing liquidity we have in the treasury, but also managing the price and valuation of the DAO based on the performance of our products. So this is we can call GC 1.0, and according to our roadmap, we are moving into our own L2 solution, which is optimistic rollup with the stablecoin as algorithmic stablecoin as payment currency. So everything will be connected, and this is our goal. Like another vision about how protocols, how infrastructure can build, and how the DAO can not only manage funds, right, but also build the products and monetize the products directly into the treasury. So this is basically what we are building, and yeah, as far as I mentioned before, we have two parts: monetization and capitalization management via Popway protocol.
I also like that. I didn't know that you guys had rebranded. I just very recently learned that, and some people might know you from like the previous name, Graviton.
Yes.
So would you like to just explain a little bit the your thoughts about like why did you thought it was necessary to rebrand, and why is Gton going through these changes?
Yes, 1 year ago, when the project started, I was cross-chain maxi, if we can say that. Like, I was a strong believer into the multi-chain DeFi and stuff. But then we start working with the products. Then we implemented the solution for incentivization for the wrapped assets to somehow boost the wrapped coins from one chain to be liquid on another chain. We noticed that the market is a bit different. So if you are building bridges, you can do something. I mean, you can provide some service. If you are building something on top of bridges, this has some issues with the product market fit. Why? Just because if you look at the ecosystems, you will find that most of the bridges, those belongs to the ecosystem. So most of the liquid bridges and wrapped assets are supported by the chain, and since you don't have your own chain and your own validators and stuff like that, it is not so strategically beneficial to build incentive solution for any assets which are breached. So we understood that it was a DAO decision to change the direction we are moving. So we came up with a new roadmap with a much bigger narratives, because previous narratives with the incentives for wrapped assets and boosting their liquidity is pretty niche, right? So this is why we came with the much global narratives right now, which is a DAO, which is building DeFi infrastructure and products, and monetizing. So right now we are doing stuff around how DAOs are able to monetize themselves, not only by selling and buying some assets, but also by building something which is generating fees. So we have an alternative vision for that, and the DAO agreed upon this vision, and we are working according to the roadmap. So basically, after many attempts of building cross-chain infrastructure, I noticed that I'm not sure that the future is really cross-chain. If, of course, it will be multi-chain. So this is how right now we understand the cross-chain is not multi-chain, right? I mean, multi-chain is something about different alternatives for the DeFi users to work with the different dApps on different chains. And of course, they need some infrastructure for moving liquidity. But this infrastructure can be implemented by official bridges from those chains, or semi-official. Some bridges are kind of separate from the team, but basically they are connected, and the most of the TVL of those bridges are coming from the stakeholders. So we noticed that, and right now we still believe in multi-chain. So then you are building dApp. It is a good if your decentralized application is multi-chain, so people from different chains will be able to use it. But I'm not sure about cross-chain, because you probably know about Vitalik article, Anton Bykov article about the cross-chain issues, right? Most of them are connected to the oracles, to the security, and I'm still cannot believe that there will be some universal solution for cross-chain, just because it's also always question of trust. And since many hacks we saw recently, like wormhole breach for 300 million, and another smaller hacks, we can see that there is also trust issues for bridges. So this is why we are thinking about building something independent from the cross chain and such security requirement. I mean, blockchain security requirement, and this is how we came up with another alternatives, like DAO, which is building products. So I think, and I'm still like, really, right now the narrative of DAOs is much global than the narrative of cross-chain, because cross-chain is kind of infrastructural question, right? And you cannot create the universal standard for that. Every new project, pretty well funded, created his own standard, and we will see more and more projects like this. But with the DAOs, we have much more things to do in terms of experiments, in terms of showing traction. And the field I'm very interested in terms of research as well is how POL works, like protocol on liquidity. Like your DAO has, LP tokens, has different types of positions on different dexes, and how we can automate the market making of the governance token, or liquidity management from the treasury reserves. So those questions are much bigger in my view than the cross chain. So this is why we came up with a pivot and rebranding.
And in my mind, it makes a lot of sense. Like, we've had guests previously here, and we're partners with projects that attempt to build cross-chain solutions. But it's always pressing, or it's always uncertain with them, right? You never completely know whether there will be a day where cross-chain solutions are perfectly stable, bridges are unreliable, and they're getting a lot of heat these days. So in my mind, it takes also bravery in crypto to change completely your scope, because then you risk a lot of criticism, isn't it?
Yes, it's true. It's true. So this is why, if you have a proper DAO voting progress, or you have a good and supportive holders, which are providing the feedback, which are active on the forum, which you can have a call. So in that situation, of course, some people, they don't like the idea. They can just left. They can just sell token, and they're not part of the DAO. But another people who believe in another narrative, they can join. So this is why I think DAO is much bigger concept here, because it just flexible. It's flexible for anything, for changing the direction, for changing monetization approaches, for changing holders. So it's something like which can survive in changing environment. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It wasn't accepted without concerns. Of course, any decision, any voting has pros cons. Has those who accepted, those who declined. But if you do proper communication, and explanation why you think something is more relevant, something is not relevant, and prove it, I think there is not so many issues. And of course, you have, like, any project has some holders which don't even know what they invested, and like it's every project have it. So those people are easily moving from one project to another. But those who share the vision, they stay, they help, and it's only making DAO stronger.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, man. And you're very much right about like the how some people just like hold a token
Yeah.
and they have no idea what they invested about. And DAOs are sort of like a very good measure for that, because you always get to see like what percentage of your community is actually interested in
Yeah.
reading the proposals, voting on them, trying to be participant, and who just like wants to see the best short-term appreciation of the token.
Yeah, of course. But anyway, we cannot blame these people who are basically, short-term traders. We like, even if we have some portion of the community who are engaging into the short-term trading. Some of them still they have an experience with the product. They have an experience with who else are doing the same, right? And sometimes they can just stay. So the speculation approach for the crypto, for the DAOs, for DeFi is something which is not certainly bad. It's basically the fuel how protocols are growing initially, right? So and of course, every people, they have their own vision, they have their own choice about stay or go deeply into the project or just sell and move forward. So I like the freedom. I like the freedom which is DeFi showing for anyone from the every place on the earth to make a decision about should he participated or not. Should he exit or not? And should he influence the protocol decision or suggest something on a forum, suggest something within the Telegram or Discord or Twitter? I like the freedom. I like the freedom which space is giving here. So yeah, those people are also, I love them. sometimes
Yeah, no.
sometimes yeah, sometimes even then you are launching some campaign, you cannot launch campaign without some extra incentive, right? You have to show the bigger APU, you have to show some I don't know, airdrop, right? You have to show some engagement, because this is how the system works. You have to increase your audience, and then you reach enough users. You will actually feel the networking effect, right? Like people, they are communicating with each other, they are helping each other, and so this is how the community is building. So of course, we cannot blame people who are only short term initially, because we can convert somebody into the long term.
And you're right. Like in the end, you also cannot blame the people, because they're helping your protocol or believing in you as much as like you're believing in them, right? They're contributing their own time. They're often often the short term flippers are the more outspoken about promoting the token because they just basically want to build as much hype as possible. So shout out to all the long short term holders. Hope you get more involved one day. But if not, well, just keep doing your part. Hey, on the side of Fringe, I mean, we're just about to launch our primary lending platform, and you guys are going to be listed in there. So, like, people are going to be able to take out loans in your token. Yeah, take out stablecoin loans by locking your tokens away. So that's like creating some utilities for the token, which is part of the vision of Fringe, just to like create an access for smaller projects into DeFi. Now, I reckon that's not too different of what you guys also want to do, because you also want to build sort of your own ecosystem. So, like, how do you find this process of like accessing DeFi, or just like connecting to the broader ecosystem that's sometimes just so targeted at a very few names, and that tends to leave out the small guy in many ways?
To be honest, I'm in crypto since like I don't know 4 years, and I see many stuff happened. And
Uh-huh.
one of the thing I've seen actually is that right now you can say one protocol is small, right? Because it's basically small, like low TVL, like low capitalization and stuff. But sometimes the protocol can be almost dead, like zombie. But if the founders, if the community, they do changes, for example, with the Aave, Aave was almost dead, right? As Ethereum is their land, as Ethereum lend, right? I forgot the previous name, but the idea was peer-to-peer lending. But after they came up with an idea of lending pools, so this changed everything, because pools is kind of network effect. So and but it's not only that. Then we are talking about partnership between projects. We also have to mention that those partnerships, they are creating the supportive communities. Like your community is supporting our projects, our community is supporting your project, so we are stronger, right? And if this partnership is not just like announcement, but something like deeply integrated, like listing or whitelisting for something like we can whitelist your protocol holders for our benefits. You are listing our tokens for our community benefits, but also for some new exposure for your existing communities. This is something which is creating networking effect. And with the cases I mentioned, with the Aave and Synthetics and another, you can see that it started with their partnership with the Chainlink, right? So after it's done, then the Chainlink ecosystem, and Synthetic ecosystem, and the Aave ecosystem, they were connected. They were connected and they help each other to grow. So this stickiness is very important, and this is why such collaborations as we are doing right now and discussing right now is important, because we are building the DeFi ecosystem together. Of course, any project will position itself as an ecosystem of products, right? But not ecosystem of integrations like a financial ecosystem. So here we have some obvious benefits. Sorry again.
We got most of that, just the last part.
Yeah, the last part is the partnership and connection. If they're not just announcements, but some real integrations, those are key for building the common ecosystem, the joint ecosystem, much stronger, because the partnerships means trust from one protocol to another, and this is a good signal for anyone to join. But also, if we have real connection, we have the economics connection, right? Like the economy of your protocol depends on ours. If our protocol is successful, you're also successful by the TVL, by the users, right? And back, like people, they know that there is lending opportunity, so they see what they can do. And basically within the DeFi, I see there is only three primitives which are working, which is DEX, like exchange. It's a basic utility for anything. Just swap one token to another. And staking. So we have two things, but also to allow users to get extra exposure, we have lending. So basically, we have trading, we have staking, and I mean staking and farming, of course, like passive income from the assets you have, and lending. And lending is basically
Right.
leverage for the trading. So this is like any protocol, any idea is all around that. There is nothing more to suggest from the DeFi. It's a core primitives, and of course, then we have some combination like one protocol is providing lending, another protocol is providing DEX, and even if there is another DEX, they are also helping each other, because then you have two different DEXs, you have arbitrage, right? So the people, they are finding the arbitrage opportunity, and you have more and more life, and the life is creating is generating another life into the system of the protocols, and it has network effect, and it has a chance to be stronger, much stronger.
Hey, speaking about this is something someone suggested that I could ask here, and I think this is a good point to introduce, because you're like you say, the what you can do in DeFi is somewhat limited. Like there are some very clear go-tos that are like the first things that you want to check off your list. But one thing, but the projects along the DeFi 2.0 line, which
Oh,
you're very much in that group, they tried to do something different, and they're getting some heat right now. Like some might say that, like, some experiments didn't do too well, and of course I'm referring to Olympus at this stage it currently is. So how do you guys see what's happening with Olympus, like, from the inside?
uh, pretty good question, to be honest, because Olympus, we cannot say that Olympus is not innovative. They came up with not probably the first, but they somehow emphasized the new type of liquidity, which is POL, right? Which is protocol on liquidity. And the big difference here is that initially, if you have a project, you are attracting the TVL. So basically, you are attracting rented liquidity, and you are always competing with another project who is suggesting higher yields, and we have vampire attack, right? And the liquidity is moving because it's rented liquidity. So this is why some projects like big data protocol wasn't sustainable in terms of TVL, and of course TVL connected to the market cap. But the POL is changing that. How? By suggesting you an opportunity to be a part of the DAO, and the DAO is actually the liquidity provider after that, right? So basically, it's the same thing, but we have some kind of a pool creation here. This is innovative approach, to be honest, because then you have POL, you have much stronger incentives to keep the TVL within the exchanges, within the protocols, right? It's not moving by anyone. There is a lack of vampire attacks. So this is how the systems can be more sustainable. But another issue is then you are suggesting this innovative idea, but the core protocol is based, and the core protocol incentive is based on insanely high APU. This is very hard to explain about how people can believe in sustainability, and this is what we actually seen, right? Like really, any protocol who is suggesting like thousands APR and pretending to be sustainable and long term in terms of price of the token, I'm not sure that it's it is even possible. Just because then you are attracting people for the thousands of the APR or APU, and those people are for the short term. So here we have a different horizons. Like if your core community is only short term because you have high APU, they will be with you short term. If you have the small staking rewards, so people, they are thinking in much longer horizons, right? And since they're thinking in much long horizons, they are basically showing that they are staying for that. And so I think that the main issue and the main difference, like our difference with Olympus and the concept of the DeFi 2.0, is that we don't have to be so greedy in terms of yields, because there is no real yields in DeFi. Most of the yields are coming from the inflation, right? So basically, your protocol must generate the yields from the emission from the inflation more than the organic growth of the capital, like fees, revenue, and other streams of revenue. So if you balance that, you can be stable. So Yeah, but again, I can say that the Olympus was one of the biggest recent innovation, because it's basically opened the DeFi 2.0. And of course, there are so many forks. Probably Olympus is one of the most forked protocol right at the moment. I haven't seen the stat, but I heard that the Olympus is most forked protocol. But again, we don't have to be so greedy in terms of yields.
Right, and you're very much right about like how this kind of project uses their inflation. Um, what we've seen is like you can very easily build a house of cards by doing that,
Yes.
because if people just liquidate the high yields they're generating, then that just causes everything to collapse, and
Yeah.
it's a bit problematic, isn't it? In that regard, you guys are introducing something very new, which I would love the Fringe community to hear about, which is your stablecoin. Because well, Fringe is also aiming to introduce stablecoin. We want to have the first ever stablecoin that is collateralized by altcoin lending. But yeah, what is your stablecoin all about, and why does it help with this dynamic?
Yeah. First of all, I have to mention that our team um, uh, is not first time building the algorithmic stablecoin. Our previous project was Neutrino protocol (USDN). You probably heard about this
Yeah.
protocol. The design basically same as Terra, but we launched and came into the curve before the UST. So right now this protocol is pretty successful, but the constant issue with such stable coins are their ability of keeping peg, right? So most often the peg is based on the arbitrage opportunities, right? And if you have not enough incentives for arbitrageurs, the stable coin is depegging, right? So this is the biggest issue. We are solving this issue with an introduction and utilization of the proactive market making. And the proactive market making is something which is generalizing the AMM, like automated market making. So I can say the difference, and then I can say why the stable coin which we are building will not be depegged. So the difference between PMM, which is proactive market making, and the IMM, which is automated market making, is that the IMM is just a formula for two assets, and depends on the balance of the assets, the price is changing, right? So basically, you keep some invariant like x multiplied y equals it. You have this balance, right? And the price is changing only by changing the liquidity on one side or on another side. And in terms of the dollar value, those liquidity sides, they are equal. Like if you have, for example, Gton on one side and you have USDC on another side, the dollar value of one side and another side are equal, and the price is changing by the arbitrageurs, right? If some people are selling, the price is going down. People are buying, the price is going up. So and this is why IMM pools are so many times are subject of flash loans, because if you have some flash loan, you have bigger position, you can basically imbalance the pool, and some lending protocols, they are referencing to the price from that pools, and of course you can do the flash loan attacks and whatever, right? So this is why we have two issues. One issue is the only arbitrage is changing the price, and this is causing the impairment loss. And another issue is we need equal dollar value of liquidity on both sides, because otherwise it doesn't work. And yeah, the bonding curves for selling and buying, those are symmetric. And this is not how the classical exchange is working, because classical exchanges, they have asymmetric order books, right? You can place orders
Right.
everywhere, and depends on the market conditions. You can basically as a market making, you can do different strategies of token valuation, market making. So yeah, you have much more flexibility. So this is why the PMM has a huge difference, and the difference here is the price is not determined by the balance of the tokens on one side, on another side, but the price is determined by the oracles, external oracles. And then you have the mid price from the oracles, and you have the bonding curve for sell and for buy. Of course, you need slippage, right, for execution of the selling and buying operations. But you can have two different bonding curves, and you can actually have asymmetric liquidity on both sides. So this is why PMM is perfectly working for the launch pads, because then you are launching the token. There is no buying side, right? You have only sell side, and then the buying side is somehow collecting by the price discovery approach. And also the classical IMMs, they are good for price discovery, but they are not so good for market making, for proactive price managing. And of course, if you have a DAO and your tokens only on IMMs, your token is a subject of manipulation, because the big market makers, they can easily sell buy and imbalance the pools, right? Because this is how the IMM works. But if you have PMM, it's not possible, because your oracles, they can rely on much longer and like some aggregated price feeds. So you cannot just change the price, and this is why the PMMs the PMM is something which is undervalued on the market, I think. So then you have PMM, as I mentioned before. You have a price which is determined by the oracles, and since the price is determined by oracles, it is easy to use it as a primitive for building stablecoin. So the collateral for the stablecoin is basically the liquidity, which is buyback liquidity, and another side is your stablecoin. So we are using this concept because we have our own Oracle networks. We are relying on Chainlink oracles. So we're basically we're able to build the stablecoin, which is not subject of DPEG. Why? Just because we are changing the narrative of DPEG and arbitrage to the narrative of the slippage. Like, if there will be some black swan event, we are not depegging, but the slippage is growing. But slippage cannot grow infinite, because some people are staying in the position, waiting for the better times, and this is how there is no situation as deficit, bank run, reason for liquidations. So this is a new approach of the algo stable coins, and we are building based on PMM.
Yeah, lots of very interesting discussion points there, man. Like, you don't you don't see, like, I mean, at least in my mind, it gets hard to conceptualize all these things until, like, unless, like, I'm looking at diagrams or something. So I'm just happy that I read before about all of this before coming in here. Um, I'm curious, with all of these things going on, why choose Phantom as your blockchain?
First of all, I have to mention that the Phantom somehow close to us. I mean, we have friends from the foundation. We have a lot of community members from this ecosystem, and I think the Phantom has some attractiveness for the innovation. I mean, really, sometimes if you have chain, for example, like simple forks of Ethereum, most often people, they just copy and pasting the products from the Ethereum, right? On the
Pretty
Phantom,
much, yeah.
we have some difference. We have some place for innovation, for experiments. We have really brave audience who are helping to protocols to grow. Also, we are strategic partners with the AnySwap. So I think it's also worth to mention that AnySwap is kind of official bridge for the Phantom, right? Not official, but very very connected in terms of everything, like people and communities and the money flow. So this is how it happened. I like the idea of DAC, and I like their scalability. I mean, it's really easy to use for the for anyone to do trades. It's cheap, it's fast. So yeah, there are a lot of benefits to do things on Phantom. And again, we are close friends into the Phantom core and the most influential community members.
Okay, cool. You're right that in Phantom there's a lot of things that are happening that are not like what you usually see in Ethereum,
Yeah.
whereas other ecosystems that are blowing up, like I would say in particular Tesos, they just seem like super into building Ethereum again. You have the PMM solution, which is very elegant in my opinion, and that ties back to like what you were saying about order book trading. This mechanism, I mean, I get that what you try to do is to mimic what human trading would look like. So like
Yeah.
or your oracles are sort of like geared towards getting that kind of information and then using it to adjust all the parameters. I'm curious what you yeah, how did you decide what human trading would look like basically, or what do you yeah, how do you try and replicate that?
So the human trading is basically like you look at the chart, you make a decision, and you are buying. So from the human perspective, uh, it doesn't matter how protocol works. To be honest, like if there is low slippage and not so expensive in terms of fees, you're just buying some assets, right? Because the jobs to be done is not using the exchange. The jobs to be done is basically taking a position or liquidate the position, right? So
Uh-huh.
this is why I'm not sure that some protocols are really different for the different people in terms of basic operation like swaps. But on every exchange, we have two types of users. From one side, we have traders who are basically buying and selling. Sometimes they need limit orders or whatever, but like most often they are just doing trades. But another side, another types of users are market makers, like those who are making money from the providing liquidity. They are making money from the originally from the fees, but sometimes there are extra incentives from the from the protocols. Of course, they are farming a bit, but those are professional players. And of course, then you have classical IMM like UniV2 model. You have some issues in terms of the utility for the market makers, because those market makers have only one thing, just provide liquidity, symmetric liquidity, and just wait, right? Nothing more to do. With the UniV3, it's a bit changed. You are able to change the intervals they are trading, but since UniV3 is somehow protected from the copying and pasting, of course it has some obvious issues with the popularization. But another concept is if you are DAO, like if you are DAO, you have liquidity on both sides. Uh, Now you are acting as a market maker, as a professional player, right? So you have to use the tools which are helping you in terms of grow and in terms of revenue generation as well. So yeah, basically from the user perspective, there's not so many things to do. I mean, some people are asking for limit orders or OTC deal, right? Request per order thing, but the issue is they are all, doesn't matter how, they are all in favor of more liquid exchanges, because if they are buying, there is less slippage. If they are selling, there is much bigger returns they have in terms of profit. So of course the liquidity is an issue, and those who are providing liquidity, here we have to see more and more innovation. But again, this side is professional side, and here we are not relying on complexity of the protocol. We are relying on the opportunities which is protocol actually giving for liquidity providers, for the market makers. So yeah, just two cents.
And you're very right that your market makers and those kind of players in the ecosystem are a lot more professionalized than everyone else, right? Like you cannot just provide liquidity. Like you have to know what you're doing in order to not get like monumentally wrecked. Um,
Yes. You know,
do you think we'll
sometimes
ever see? Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
just referencing to your mention of the the providing liquidity from the average Joe. sometimes we still can see that some average Joes, they are providing liquidity, and then they are somehow disappointing by impairment laws, right? They are providing liquidity with, I don't know, 10 ETH, and then they are withdrawing. There is not enough 10 ETH. There is only like 2 ETH, and they don't know what happened.
Uh, yeah, yeah, that happens a lot. And yeah, what I was asking you is like, because I know that happened to me. I was like a victim of impermanent loss while providing liquidity to a protocol because Uniswap looked cool, and I had no clue what I was doing. And then you figure out like you lost a bunch of money, and you're like, well, shit. Um, do you think we'll ever see like an friendlier liquidity providing system, or one that's like more useful for the
Yeah.
noobs, or are we just building like systems that are going to be like infinitely more complex?
No, 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 not really. The complexity for professional players is nothing. I mean, this is why it's called professional, right? So
Yeah,
whatever complexity your protocol has, they will handle it, and it's not an issue. But another thing is the liquidity source. Then we're talking about the professional. We are relying that those big market makers and professionals, they also only one liquidity source, which is also not enough, right, for protocols to grow. So this is why we also have to engage the retail people for liquidity providing, right? And here we have two different approaches. One approach is like you are guys doing with a fringe. So this is basically the lending protocols. Then you have lending protocols. You have a pool, right? And the people, they can borrow assets, right, or lend assets for some stuff. So they are basically providing liquidity, because this liquidity can be used for by traders. They can leverage the assets another people provided for their own purposes, for arbitrage or for margin trading, right? So this is one approach, and the lending protocols, they are good example of easy for users solution to provide liquidity, because it's just sending money for the contract and wait, right? And you can every time just put it back, right? This is simple. Like it's not complex. It doesn't matter how the protocol works, to be honest. If you are suggesting the interface, then the average Joe is putting assets, and those assets are used somehow. Of course, there is a risk. This is why we have some rewards for and incentives for Joe. But Joe can anytime withdraw, and this is basically really simple operations, right, for him to provide liquidity, and everyone is happy. Another thing is single-sided liquidity, which is basically the same thing, but without leverage. So the PMM is a tool there. You can just suggest the one token is going to one side, and it is using as liquidity. You can cover some loss if they happen with the another assets, or you can somehow balance the pool to minimize the risk. But if your interface for the users is just put assets, give some rewards, and then you can exit anytime without lose with some reward. This is pretty much easy interface for users, and you are solving the main issue with the complexity for the users. They are just providing by one click, and by one click they can take it back, right? So we have a solution for that, single-sided liquidity solution called Candy. It is also connected to the PMM. As I mentioned before, the PMM concept is letting you to keep liquidity only on one side, and another side can be provided by another people. So this is pretty flexible. And Fringe and another lending protocols, they have native interface for users just to put money and wait. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're very much right. Like that was a bit of a plug for Fringe, and I appreciate that. But in the end, yeah, like that's what you want to do, right? You want to have solutions where users provide one asset, and then they can sort of forget about it, and in the end, they're still like subject or tied to the price of the asset that they bought because they thought it was a good buy, and hopefully they can do something more with it. But like they in the end, they're not gonna have that situation. They're not gonna come in and see, oh, I used to have two ETH and now I just have one. What happened here?
Yeah, of course, of course. This is why we are talking about impairment loss or rug pools and whatever. But anyway, the protocols, they must be more open in terms of risks. Of course, people are not reading such alerts. Like even if you will create the 10 different alerts, but you will suggest, I don't know, 100% APR for the people, they will just click OK, and just like, this is my money, just where to send. Sometimes I see that they are sending directly to the contract, and this is most disappointing thing. Like, instead of interacting with the contract, they are sending to the contract, and I don't know what to do with that really, because even if your UI is not letting to do that directly, they are somehow managing to do that. So, what we can do?
Man, I,
We have
I
to
don't I don't
educate.
understand. I don't understand why people would do that. Like in my mind, it's a lot harder to just send something to the contract as opposed to just like interacting with it like a normal person.
I can say I have some experience with that. The users who are very new in the DeFi, the first thing they learned is actually transferring funds, right, using MetaMask.
Of course, yeah.
And then you have some sentence like send money to the contract. They are literally understand that as sending money to the contract, not interacting with the contract. Like, and of course they are they are able to find the address of the smart contract in the documentation, right? And they are sending it here. Like,
I mean, in my mind, if there's something with a little fox that cute, I might just click the cute little fox rather than try and send a transaction to a contract. But that's just me.
yeah, I mean, like, people, they don't sometimes they think that it is much secure, because there are a lot of phishing stories around, like, yeah, they don't trust the UI, so they think it is much easier to directly send, because basically somewhere in tutorial it was mentioned like send funds to the contract. And they are sending. So this is how we have some issue. Have no idea how to solve it, at once. But the general solution is we have to spend more time and efforts in terms of education, because, like, the classical education, like pitfalls people have, and some challenges without risk of losing money, just to educate them, because the more educated they are, the less disappointed, the more people they are attracting. So yeah. um,
And that shows a lot of like the importance of UX writing, which you're a developer. You know that sometimes like your team is understaffed, and you have to just like get the developers to write something in the UI, and it's not something that was well thought out because you have 10,000 other things to do, and yeah, it's hard, man.
yeah, of course, but sometimes people are aping into the stuff which has no UI yet. I saw it many times, especially then the Andrew Cronier was active in the space. Uh, People are just tracking the contracts. Like, if, I don't know, Yarn deployer. We can rely on this example, right? And they see that the smart contract deployed. They're trying to call any function to send any money there. Why? Just because most often the protocols are launching with the much bigger opportunities in the first minutes, and like hours. So this is why it's creating some type of overhype. So people, they are not waiting until the UI is done and things are audited. They're just sending money, because it's actually kind of lottery, right? So of course some of them, they don't even care about losses, because then you are participating in the lottery. How you can care, like, how you can be worried about losing funds? It's just illogical,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, yeah, man, this was a very interesting conversation. I know we're hitting the hour mark in like 3 minutes. So I would just like to ask you if there was anything that you wanted to talk about and we didn't talk about here, because your team also suggested some points here, but yeah, time really flies. So whatever you feel like talking about here, or that you think is worth mentioning for both our audiences, that's the time.
What I can say, I think, since the Olympus introduced the DeFi 2.0, things changed a bit. We have more primitives which we can combine for building the new innovative protocols. But also, I think we have to see more and more, like we'll see more and more connection between the crypto market and the real market. I think we'll see more and more synthetic assets within the DeFi, because if you have an exchange, if you have lending protocols, if you have liquidity provision, but you don't have enough assets. I mean, not enough assets in terms of quantity, but I mean, I mean quality, right? Because like all crypto assets are correlated, and you cannot offer the things which are which like people, especially those who are actively trading on the indexes or stock market, they are not buying the thing where all assets are correlated with Bitcoin. And still we have this issue. We cannot avoid this issue. And of course, sometimes if you are not so active explorer, you are just buying index, which is Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, like a simple portfolio of most liquid assets. And basically, you have the same chance as people who are aping into everything, right? Because average is almost the same. So this is why we have to see more and more alternatives. And I wish to see more synthetic assets, indexes, and things like tokenized NFTs, tokenized real estate, whatever, into the space, because this is opening the more utilities. And another thing is DAOs. Like really, sometimes people, they don't want to ape by their own. They don't want to be too active. They're gonna explore. They're gonna see what is going on, but they are not full time in that. So for them, we have to offer some kind of decision delegation approach. So this is why I see that some DAOs will be more structured, more flexible, more how to say, has bigger and stronger hierarchy inside, right, and organization structure. So it will open for the people an opportunity to choose how they're going to be involved into the decision making and into the participating into the protocol, right? Some of them they'll just delegate their votes, or some of them will delegate their votes only for certain proposals, right? Some of them will just keep money and wait, and whatever. And this is how things will be changed. So yeah, I think the future is DAO, synthetics, assets, and and of course scalability. We need more and more chains and connections between them, because spending hundreds of dollars for transaction fees, I'm not sure it's a way of growing ecosystem.
All right, I'm seeing someone dropped some questions in the Fringe chat, so I'm just gonna read one of them to finish this out. Shout out to D, who's always very participative and who's always interacting here. Yeah, I'm just reading them. 1 second. Well, they're mostly related to Fringe, so I'll just answer those directly in the Fringe chat. Thanks a lot for joining, man. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it was mutual. Thank you so much. Pretty interesting question, and I like the mood of the discussion. Thank you guys for participating.
And to everyone that participated, and to everyone that just managed to listen to a little part of this, or who would like to revisit this conversation, we'll be uploading it to YouTube pretty soon. We'll all be sharing that, so stay tuned to our networks, and you'll be seeing that pop up very soon. Again, thank you very much to the Graviton team that helped organize this, and thank you, Alex, man. You were a lot of fun to talk to.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. It's nice to meet you.
Okay. Bye bye, everyone.